This, my friends, is $826. This is cash that I made by selling a bunch of my old possessions and things that I didn't need anymore when I moved house recently. Now, the reason I show you this money is not to brag or to boast about how rich I am, but to show you an example of how prosperity works. Welcome to another episode of Old School Wisdom. I'm Daniel Midson-Short. Today we are talking about the concept of prosperity, what it is, what it isn't, and how we can attract more of it into our lives. Now, ironically, prosperity is one of those topics that I ignored for a lot of years of my life. I always believed in positive thinking and living a forward, goal-oriented life in self-actualization, but I kind of ignored the idea of being prosperous or abundant or living with a mentality of plenty. And I think I did this because I always felt like it was a little bit of an outdated concept, or it was a bit woo-woo or too spiritual or something like that. But as I've opened my mind to it and I've started to read more books from this new thought era, it really has impacted the way I'm starting to live my life and the results that I'm getting. And that's why I want to share them in this video with you. Now, I showed you this big wad of cash earlier because generally speaking, when people think of prosperity, they think of money, but actually prosperity can be many things. It can be freedom, it can be relationships, it can be a sense of achievement, it can be a sense of fulfillment, it can be a sense of getting your needs met. Prosperity is really something that is abundant in the world around us, but we choose not to look at it and we choose to live with a mentality of lack. Now, to do this, I want to explore one particular book, and that is You Too Can Be Prosperous by Robert A. Russell. Now, in the book, Robert Russell defines prosperity as the state of being prosperous, advance or gain in anything good or desirable, successful progress, attainment of the object desired. So like I said, prosperity doesn't necessarily have to be money, although a lot of us think of it in that way. It is anything that we need that is fulfilled for us. And I think that's important to think about in your life, because 90 to 95% of your needs are actually fulfilled most of the time. But what we tend to focus on is the reverse of that. We focus on the things we don't have, and therefore we lose the idea of prosperity and we start to live in lack. In a sense, lack is what we fear. Often you fear failure or rejection or embarrassment in your life, but it's actually the lack that it creates, whether it's a lack of friends, a lack of success, a lack of recognition, a lack of acceptance. This lack is what we actually fear. And it's the same with material possessions. If we feel poor or we feel underprivileged in some way, very often it's because we fear the lack of not having something. If you are an achiever type personality, someone who likes to set goals, very often you tend to focus on what you want versus what you have in your life already. And this can become a little bit of a trap. I know I fall into this a lot, where I start to seek a new goal and I kind of forget the things that I already have and I take them for granted and I'm not enjoying them as much as I used to. This is a good example of how lack creeps into our lives and we start to lose that prosperity consciousness. In the book, Robert Russell talks about the idea that nature is abundant with prosperity. If you look around the natural world, you go into a park or a forest or near the ocean, you will notice that nature is abundant. It just flows, it grows, and it doesn't try to hold back anything. If there's sunlight and there's water and there's nutrients in the soil, then plants will grow. And it's the same as human beings. If we're nourished and we're encouraged and we're supported, we will grow as people. If we're not, we tend to pull back and we tend to live in this sense of lack. What Robert Russell talks about in the book is the idea that you have to embrace and you have to look for the prosperity in your life if you want to attract more of it. And I know this concept sounds a little bit like The Secret, it might sound a little bit woo-woo, but it's something I have been practicing over the past couple of weeks. Every time I go outside, I have a look around at all the abundance of nature and I realize how much prosperity there is. I look at all the things that I have in my life and I start to realize how prosperous I already am. And as a result, I'm noticing that I'm tending to attract more of it into my life. Like the example of all the items that I sold, or different things in my career, or different friendships, all these ways that I'm sourcing and I'm accessing prosperity, they were always there in my life, and it's probably the same for you, but I wasn't taking the time to notice them and to draw more of them to me. Now, this actually is backed up by a concept from neuroscience, which is called the reticular activating system. It's a part of our brain where we see more of the things that we expect to see. So for example, if you drive a certain car, you probably notice your same car every time you're driving around. And it's the exact same thing with prosperity. If we look for abundance, if we look for plenty, we tend to find it. These approaches to life are very simple, but they can be very powerful if you start to adopt them into your overall mentality and you think of prosperity as a natural part of your everyday life. So how can you feel more prosperous? I believe there are 3 things that you can do that will make you more prosperous in your everyday life and make you feel like you're living a life of prosperity. Number 1 is that prosperity is there if you look. As I said earlier, nature is abundant, so you can look at that all around you. In your day-to-day life, most of your needs are already met, your relationships are good, your health is good, you're free. All those things are actually a part of your prosperity. It's not just about financial accumulation or becoming successful. You actually already have prosperity if you choose to look for it. Number 2 is that prosperity is found in the present. If you start to get too focused on the future or you get stuck in the past, you will find that this tends to take you out of a prosperous mindset. You get stuck focusing on what you don't have or what you don't have yet, and you lose the moment. Prosperity is always found in the present. So if you stay in the present moment, the present day, you experience life as it's happening, it can create more of a prosperity around you, more of a sense of abundance and happiness and fulfillment. And number 3 is that prosperity is in the giving, not the getting. Over the course of your life, you will probably experience many times where you get joy from giving to other people. Not necessarily in financial terms or a physical gift, but you give time, you give attention, you give encouragement or praise. Anytime you give out to another person or a worthy cause, you feel a sense of prosperity. You feel a sense of abundance because you're able to give of yourself and give to the world in some way. This is the essence of prosperity. Prosperity is meant to be shared and enjoyed by all of us together. It's not about hoarding everything you have and trying to keep it for yourself. It's about sharing it with the world. Now, in future videos, we may delve deeper into the law of attraction and how to use your mind to create the results that you want. But for now, I challenge you to take away this idea of prosperity and try it out for yourself. Look for the abundance and the prosperity that's all around you in nature, in your relationships, in your everyday life. Realize that 90 to 95% of your needs have already been met and enjoy the things that you have. And I guarantee you, if you do that, you hold that idea of prosperity and abundance, you will find that it actually attracts more of it to you and you'll enjoy your life a great deal more. Hopefully this idea of prosperity has been insightful for you. I look forward to sharing more old school wisdom just like this in future episodes. But for now, my name is Daniel Midson-Short. Thank you for watching. And as always, thank you for improving yourself. Prosperity.